This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Malcolm Washington about the piano lesson. How are you, Malcolm?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I had the chance to see this film at its Toronto premiere, which was a lot of fun, very energetic crowd there.
That was a really fun screening. I loved that festival in Toronto. It was great.
Can you tell me about what led you to want to make your first feature film?
Um, just period or making the piano lesson my first one.
Both of them, both parts.
Um, I it's so funny. I've been in this moment of just like full like having just a lot of full circle moments. Like yesterday, I went to UPenn for undergrad, and I studied film studies there, and I got to go back. There's a professor that's like been a mentor of mine, obviously from then, but throughout this whole journey, and I got to go back and like talk to the students in the classroom that I like started studying movies in, and it was this really moving moment because in that community, her classroom like really kind of built me as a filmmaker, not in practice at all, but just in theory and kind of my approach and foundation of what I think movies are. And so I've been thinking for a long time about what I wanted to do in this space and how I wanted to approach filmmaking. So the fact that now I'm on the other side and having made a film and looking at that journey, I just always wanted to tell a story that I feel like could connect to culture, and use the medium itself to kind of speak to larger ideas, whether they be like a philosophical idea or putting something in a historical context, but to speak to uh, these things on multiple levels. And in the piano lesson, I think I found an opportunity to do that, to tell a genre story, a ghost story, and something thrilling, but also speak to a culture, speak to these kind of ideals of patriotism and what it means to be an American, and the Black American experience, but the American experience as a whole, and ideas of legacy and spirituality. So this was these were themes that I was kind of wrestling with for a long time, and to be able to kind of distill all of these musings on these things into a film itself was it was a meaningful journey. And I think anytime you get to make a film, it's such a privilege just to make a movie, and to make a movie this personal that means this much was like tenfold that.
I think that all of August Wilson's works that I'm familiar with are so specific in their settings, yet there are these ideas that remain relevant, almost a century later. Where did you
Absolutely.
start with the play and then with writing the screenplay with Virgil Williams?
I think I kind of started with this idea of ancestry and lineage and legacy, of like the idea that there's so many people in your line that came before you that influence the life that you live today, good, bad. They just live inside of you, and I was kind of like thinking just on those terms in my life period, and then Virgil and I came together, and we immediately saw a ghost story in this whole thing, and we really wanted to push the genre elements of it, and do make something that we thought was thrilling, and make something that could kind of grip you and hold you throughout the course of this film, while we are kind of sneaking these other themes and other ideas, so that by the end of the movie you're kind of landed and you're transported to this new place and of contemplation and spirituality, and just having moved through something. So I think Virgil and I really linked on the genre part, and then we've kind of like layered all the other things in.
There's a lot going on. I feel like if I saw the poster beforehand and then you think it's going to be this tale of violence, and then the ghost story part of it, and then there's some unexpected romance, there's a piano, there's fruit, there's a lot of different things all going on
There's
there.
fruit, yeah. There is.
It's a character, it's important. So I definitely, the ghost story part is so interesting to me because I'm not personally a fan of horror, and I feel like
Mm,
this is a kind of film where I would never have expected something like that. But I think
mm.
it's in there in a way that you don't quite know if it's real, but there are some moments where it's definitely terrifying, even if it's
Yeah.
not, because to these people, they're feeling something they can't explain.
Exactly. And it's that feeling. It's like this ever-present like fog that sits over the room and charges the air, the space, you know. And it's not real until it is, and it must be confronted immediately, you know.
How did you work in terms of sets? Did you want to make sure, was that a challenge to be able to find the right, home and just the look for everything?
Well, we By my when I say we, I mean like our design team, our production designer David Bamba, our costume designer Miss Francine, and Mike G, our DP, wanted to make sure that all our design was kind of in dialogue with each other, and we wanted to, have a clear vision of what how these things would communicate and work together. And a clear understanding of the community in which we're portraying, So David Bamba and I took a lot of trips to Pittsburgh, and we scouted all through the neighborhoods, and we were like in people's houses measuring the furniture and the walls, and then we were able to build a version of that in Atlanta. So we basically rebuilt this street that we found in Pittsburgh. We rebuilt it in Georgia and built our whole set because obviously there was some stunt stuff and some lighting considerations that we just needed uh practically to be able to do. So we had to build it. But what that gave us was a really interesting a handle on like we could control everything. We could control our color palette, the values that everything lived within. That there's a dialogue between the costumes, but especially Danielle's costumes in the house. Like those things are in concert, and Danielle's costumes, moreover, tell a color story that represents the kind of spiritual practice of hoodoo, West African spiritual practices that's kind of told in the color of her clothes. So I think having control of these things and then being able to kind of build out our vision of it with our department heads that's like the joys of filmmaking, where you get to kind of have an idea and then kind of enact it.
And Danielle Detweiler really delivers a terrific performance in this film. That
Doesn't
again is like
she?
there was the parts I like best are actually the funnier parts, which don't come in all that much, but it's nice sort of disarming there.
Yeah. I loved working with her. I'm proud that she's getting some recognition for her performance. I hope that continues. I hope people see and really understand what she did in this film. Like she's a monster.
I was at a Q&A after the New York Film Festival premiere of Till, and she was just so overtaken with people, heaping praise on her performance. And so it's nice
Mhm.
to see because she makes it look very effortless, yet it's so focused in a different way than I think a lot of other performers.
Yeah. It's with great effort though. It's with great effort. So she does make it look effortless, but having being on the other side and seeing how much work she puts into it, it's like it's with much effort.
Wasn't meant only as a compliment. No, I think it's
Yeah, no,
it's
no, no.
she's
Yeah, I
extraordinary.
understand. I'm just also putting on that. Like she's studied and gets to it.
We also have Samuel L. Jackson in this movie, and I feel like he's someone who can be a really, really big presence if you want, or he can sort of be, not part of the scenery, but not take away from other actors. What did you
Mm.
have in mind for him and his presence?
You know what I love about him in this movie? It's like he's it's like when you spill something on the table and the fluid's like trying to run off the table, but you kind of push it to the center to keep it from running over the table. I feel like he's like that with the family conflict. He's a figure that's like always kind of at the borders. He's at the front porch, the back porch, by the windows, by the door, keeping the family together and letting them work it out. But he's like, you can't leave. You have to like we have to kind of deal with this in this moment. And he has a sort of resolve about it because he's one of the elders. He carries all the stories. He understands the stakes and weight that they're wrestling with, but at the same time, he understands that they have autonomy. They have to make the decision for the next generation of the family. Like they have to do it. But he's kind of like this guardsman on the edges that's like keeping the conflict on the table and never letting it run off. And I think what he was able to do as a performer is so subtle, so layered, and so powerful. And it showed obviously I got to watch it every day, so it's like yeah that's what he's not only a movie star but a gifted actor. And I hope that people recognize that. I think it's easy to be like loud and like bombastic. But what he does, like the layers, and he's in there with a scalpel as an actor. And people can't do what he does. And so I was just so privileged to watch on the monitor and cut that performance together too.
It's a good companion piece to The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, which I feel like is also unusual for him in that it's so.
Exactly. But that's a brilliant work that he did in that. His performance in that. So I. You'd be surprised how many conversations I had of people being like, "Wow, Sam is like, I've never seen him like this," and I'm like, "Oh no, he's is an incredible actor. Like, his characters are so funny and big, and they entertain us for decades, but he has this in his game, and it's great to see him just deliver on this level as well. No surprise though. No surprise to me, but he's just a great, you know.
Well, I think it's a testament to the strength of your film that we made it this long without mentioning that you have some family members involved in this film also. I think John David Washington's role is particularly entertaining too, just because he's unlike Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
He's got such an excitement that sometimes feels inappropriate, but is works so well opposite Danielle. Did you have
Mhm.
any worries about working with your brother, and how did that pan out?
Um, I was so excited to work with him. I was so excited to get to work with him. Okay, I don't take these opportunities for granted, you know, and the you just don't know how much you what you're going to be able to get to do in your life. So when you can work with somebody you admire and you can and be your brother, it's like you jump at that. I think that we both really wanted to do well for the other person, so there was a excitement about getting to try to do that for each other. But watching him work every day, like seeing his approach to it, seeing his skill, when you work together, it's different. You get to see that stuff more. Where you just see the performance, you see the movie, you're like, great job, dog. I'm proud of you. But seeing his approach every day was like, he became a hero of mine again.
Highlight of the Q&A in Toronto was seeing your father Denzel just beaming with pride at getting to be there as part of as part of this celebration of your work. What was it like having him involved in a off-screen capacity here?
It was, this work is really meaningful to him. The whole August Wilson canon and legacy, that's part of his legacy now, and obviously it was really important for him to see these things through and keep them of a certain caliber and make sure that people see them, and introduce audiences August to new audiences and and re-inspire the audiences that know August's work. So having him there was like a constant reminder of that, and I think it was just not only him, but like just our whole community. Like this film is really, I keep saying it, I can't mean it. I can't mean it enough. Like this is really a film made by community. There's been so many incredible troops of Black creativity that have like spawned in different generations that I'm so inspired by, whether it be, kind of Harlem Renaissance movement or the Black Broadway boom of like the 80s, or what was happening in Hollywood in the 90s. Like there's been such great communities of Black artists working together inside of entertainment and outside and fine art as well. And I always had a desire to kind of be a part of one of those movements and like build out a community that you make something with for each other, to speak to the conditions and aspirations of that community. And in this film, we started to do that. Like everybody that worked on it poured so much of themselves into it, and worked to reflect a community and make a culture see themselves in it. So that's what I'm really proud of.
Well, I know that while this film has been touring the festival circuit for a few months, it's new to most people, so that's what your attention is mostly focused on. But do you have another feature in mind or in the works?
I do, I do. I like I'm just going. You get so much creative energy having when you finish a movie. I feel like when I got to the end, we delivered the movie, and I turned to my editor. I'm like, I feel like I should just. I wish I could start over and make this movie again now. Like I just figured out how to make the piano lesson, and now I had to deliver it. And you take all that stuff and you try to turn it into something. I've been not super focused the last few months. Like I got to be honest, but there's a lot of ideas and projects that I've been working on that have I'm just like really eager to push forward.
Well, since this is Awards Buzz, I'm always curious who the people I'm talking to, what they're watching. If
Mm.
there's a film or a performance that you've seen that's really sticking with you.
Ooh, you know what? There's a few. I gotta shout out um my friends that made Nickel Boys. I love that team. Great performances in there. Romel's amazing. Jomo, DP, incredible. But the performance in film that is sticking with me a lot right now is is Maria. I think I love Pablo Larraín. I love his films. And what Angelina does in that is stunning, just stunning work. And another thing of like that's like a movie star that we know, and she's giving us another. It's somebody you feel like you've been watching for so long, and she's giving us another layer that we have never seen from her before. And the design in that movie and Ed Lockman's camera work, it's like that's a incredible, incredible feat, and I hope people check that one out. What about
That
you?
this
What
film
what
also.
what's what's
Oh,
what's rattling around for
I'm,
you?
I'm glad you asked. There's a lot of good stuff. I definitely like some big things like Anora and Wicked, but the film that I really have been championing, which is not an awards movie, is called It's What's Inside. It's
Oh,
on
somebody was
Netflix.
telling me about that. Yeah.
I recommend don't read anything more when you have time. Just start watching it,
Okay.
and just give it a shot. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And while I know that will not be in the awards conversation, I think it's an excellent film, and I will continue mentioning it. So I
I'm
thank you
glad you did. It's what's inside. I'm
for
gonna add it to my queue.
thank you for asking me that. But more importantly, thank you for making this film and taking some time to speak with me. I wish you plenty of luck in this and your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.